Hi, welcome to the Ventura Vineyard's COVID edition town hall meeting for May the 16th, Saturday. My name is Brian. I am your town hall host. For those of you familiar with our past town halls, it's kind of a state of the church. And so we've taken questions over the last couple of weeks from all the members of our community. We've distilled them down to basically 5 questions that encapsulated all of the other questions that we got. And we're going to have all of our leadership team, the elders, the teaching team, and the staff answer these questions as they come up. And so just to get things started, I'm going to ask each of the team to introduce themselves, just mention what they do as a function within our leadership at the Ventura Vineyard, and give you their contact information. So I'm going to start off with Jenny Downing.
Well, hi, I'm Jenny Downing, and if you need to contact me, it's jenny@venturavineyard.org. Is that all I'm supposed to say? I think so. And now I'm passing the baton to Catherine.
My name is Catherine Anderson, Catherine@venturavineyard.org. And my role on the leadership team is just to be a liaison between staff and elders.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm Chris.
Oh, I'm your pastor, right?
I am the interim worship director, and you can find me, Chris@venturavineyard.org. I pass it to this one.
I'm Ashley Gwaltney. You can contact me at ashley@venturavineyard.org, and I take care of things related to the building, the facilities, anything admin related, and media related stuff.
Next is Brian Flores.
Hey, that's me. I'm Brian Flores. I am responsible for some of the financials and keeping Dan Cameron in line. Mr. Cameron.
I'm Dan Cameron. My contact information is dan@venturavineyard.org. And as Brian already said, I do the financial stuff, and he definitely holds me accountable to that. And I help out with youth ministry and odds and ends. I'm going to pass it to Richard.
Ready? Hey, everybody. My name's Richard, and you can reach me at richard@venturavineyard.org. And I do a couple of things. I'm part of the teaching team. I'm also on the pastoral team. I'm the elder that's serving over missions. And I'm also co-leading the prayer team. And so next, I guess I would like to pass it to Jackie Pierce.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jackie Pierce, and I help with community outreach, and you can reach me at jackie@venturavineyard.org. And I pass it to, who's next? Bob Harper?
So I'm Bob Harper, and I am the Uber congregant. That's my job.
Uber. He's been waiting this whole time.
All of these guys all the time. No, I'm on the teaching team, and I have a Thursday night Bible study. And I'm the, yeah, that's it.
He doesn't want to get your email.
I'm going to pass to Adam.
Oh, that's me. I'm Adam Figueroa. You can reach me at adam@venturavineyard.org. I help out with facilities as well as Sunday morning services and the technical aspects of the services. And I'll pass it on over to, wait, was that it? That was it.
Senor Blanco.
You're where the buck stops.
That's right. It, Adam. We haven't missed anybody, right? Nobody's in their little square in silence going.
We didn't. Jenny didn't say what she was in charge of, so I'm going to say that Jenny is in charge of everything that wasn't said and everything that was said. So
agreed.
Thanks, Stan.
You're welcome.
Boss lady.
All right, so just to get this rolling, one of the more popular questions that we have had is simple, and that is, when will the Ventura Vineyard resume normal or semi-normal, quasi-normal operations, in-person operations, actually having services over on our home there on Palma Drive. Who would like to answer that question?
Where'd Adam?
Anyone?
Well, I can start. Someone asked if we were thinking about closing our doors. No, we're not. Ventura Vineyard is alive and well, and we're just waiting for the all clear. Of course, our primary concern is, starting things back up wisely and safely. And so we are going to be consulting with a number of people and listening to our governor and the Ventura County people to find out when it is safe to open, and when it does, what it's going to look like. We're batting around a variety of ideas, but the most important thing is, we're coming back, and we're coming back safely because we want to honor our congregation. We want to, take care of all of you and us. So that's the short answer. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Let me just kind of expound on that just a touch. I imagine that it won't be as simple as just flinging the doors wide open on a Sunday and making that happen in the way it was 2 months ago when we had to close down due to COVID-19. So can you comment just a little bit on what it would be like in terms of the staggered opening that I imagine it's going to be? And Jenny, you don't have to answer that question specifically. Anybody else like to chime in?
I'll take it. We're just picturing that it's easy to keep adults safely spaced, and obviously we could set up the sanctuary and so that we could keep everybody at a distance. We'd limit, of course, the coffee bar, things like that. But working with children might be a little bit more difficult, and so we would have to look at that carefully to make sure that we keep the children safe and how we could accommodate them. And so it might mean that we have a staggered opening where the youth would continue to meet virtually, but adults would be allowed in, and how would families feel about that? So there's a lot of things for us to consider, but we want to, again, we all want to be back in the building, but we just want to make sure that it works for as many people as possible safely.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment on this? If not, I'll move to the next question, which really is a box car to this one. And that is, with our opening, we're still going to be, until there's a vaccine found for this virus, we're still going to have people that are going to be concerned about their health. If they're immunocompromised or they have a comorbidity, anything that really forces them to isolate more than somebody who has a more robust immune system. So what can the elders, the staff, the leadership of this church say to those in that position? Are we going to be able to still host or put a presence online where they don't physically have to come to the church?
I'll take that one, Brian. I mean, the biggest limitation we have with doing a live service after this all gets going is basically our internet. The capabilities of our internet are just not there. We don't have enough speed to support a live stream. And then if we did a pre-recorded service similar to what we do now, the odd thing would be basically is people roaming around with cameras in the middle of service and in front of people. We don't have the infrastructure and stuff like that set up, let alone the staff to execute something like that. Continuing forward, and we understand why people would really have a desire for those online services, even as we open the doors. I just want to reassure people that we are taking under advisement, our local health professionals, as well as, the government, the government phases. So we're going to be staying at or be exceeding anything that they put forth in our community.
Okay, so just to put a fine point on it, what you're saying is that we're not going to rush to open the doors. We're going to continue to have that presence online until it's about as absolutely safe as we can make it.
Right.
Okay.
And I think there's one other component too, which is once we go back to the live service, for those folks that don't feel safe attending they will still have the option of the podcast, right? They can still stream it after the fact. The audio component, obviously not a live video like we do today.
That's a great point. Thanks, Brian.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, you're definitely not locked out. You may not get the stunning visual experience that you've experienced on YouTube, but you will still have the audio presence. All right, anybody else on that question?
I would just like to say that we're in a better position now, like technologically, when we go back, because we have familiarized ourselves with a little bit of things that we never even thought about before. Uploading video, creating like online videos within the community. I think that's like a tremendous thing that we're doing. And Ashley is doing a lot of work in the Facebook group, and I see it working. So that's something that I see us continuing if we can.
Right. So it's definitely not going to end with the opening of our doors. We just don't know how broad it can become or continue.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. How about this question? What are we doing in the broader sense to keep people connected, our community connected within the Ventura Vineyard?
I'll answer this one. So like Dan just mentioned, we have the Facebook group, and that was born out of this, but we'd already been talking about doing that before any of this happened. And it's something that we want to continue after this is over. But that's something I want to encourage everyone to be using. It could be for anything. It could be, some people have posted prayer requests in there. It could be for funny stuff. It could be for conversations. It could be anything at all. Like, use that. Let's try to use that to connect with each other about just life, day-to-day stuff. If you need something, if you're giving away something, you want to see if anyone wants it, it can just be used for anything community related. And in that group, we're going to start doing, well, we have already started doing these weekly videos. That's kind of like a spotlight, like get to know you sort of video for different people. And even that we can continue once we're back to meeting in person. But for right now, that'll be pretty invaluable just to see familiar faces and get to know people better than we already did. So that's one thing. That's two things, the Facebook group and the weekly videos. The staff is planning a couple upcoming virtual events. Stay tuned. So that'll be fun. And then there's still several small groups that are meeting virtually. And now is also kind of a cool time if you haven't been able to participate in a small group. Like, now could sort of be a cool time to do that, because if you haven't been able to because of kids or, you know, childcare or other reasons, like now it's virtual, you can do that at home. So you can join one of those. I know Lectio Ladies is meeting virtually. The Bible study is meeting virtually. I think Faith and Fermentation is meeting virtually.
Yes.
But just, check in with those groups. Look online, look at the website, because it has the information there about those groups. So that's still happening. That's a good way to stay connected. And we're also really open to people's ideas. So if you have an idea for a cool way to connect with other people, email me, ashley@venturavineyard.org. And we would love the ideas. Like, let's brainstorm some stuff, because now's the time to really like come up with some things to do to stay connected while we're all physically separated.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. Anybody else like to comment on connection and how we're making it better and amplifying it, especially during these days?
Nope.
No.
I think Ashley said it all. She said it all.
She did.
So thorough.
And we're definitely open, again, to suggestion. And, you know, of course, understand this, that Ashley gave you her email or her contact information, but all roads lead to her. contact@venturavineyard.org, the app, the Connect tile, the prayer and care, COVID-19. It's all Ashley.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. This is even a wider question, and it really goes to several questions condensed into one, and it's real broad. So I'm sure there'll be several of you that are going to want to answer it. It's about the diversity of our church, and what are we doing to make that greater and foster that within the Ventura Vineyard community.
Well, let me give it a start, and then other people will no doubt want to chime in, because I'm not going to answer it very completely, I'm sure. One of the questions had to do with the leadership team, you know, and wondering if there was diversity there, specifically with ages. And well, you know, some of us are not as young as others of us might be. And I did a quick count in our age group. It spans some 35 plus years between us. Basically between Ashley and me. And not only are we diverse in age, but we don't agree on things all the time, which makes our meetings kind of fun. And while that is a great blessing, because I think it reflects the church to a greater extent, in terms of church growth, it's also a little, it slows things down a little bit sometimes by design. If we all agreed and we all felt the same way about things, we'd all go out and find other people who are just like us, you know, and we'd have a nice, happy family that everyone looked just the same. But that's not who Ventura Vineyard is. So the fact that we do have differing opinions, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different pretty much anything you can say, is a blessing, and does slow down church growth a little bit. One of the problems with aspiring to a church that embraces diversity is people's tendency that if they get the idea that your church isn't going the way you want to go, then you find another one that is.
Right.
And that kind of makes diversity difficult if everybody leaves because they think differently. I think we aspire to, and what is my dream, is that we can be a place where we can support one another on our own journeys. Really, no matter what it is. I mean, we're all in different places. And if, for instance, one person is going in a direction that I don't necessarily embrace, I can still embrace them as a human being and cheer them along their journey. And that's kind of what we're looking for. But again, it's difficult. There are many of us who are doing different things. I'm thinking of the Sockles and Linnea and Michael, who have a heart for racial diversity and reconciliation. We've got Jared and Chris, of course, who love the gamers. There's several of us who have relationships with those in the LGBTQ communities, and who are you know, helping them to love God, even if they don't necessarily love the church right now. And I think ideally in time, these will be conduits and sort of funnels to bring people into the church. But that takes time, because these are all communities that have been a little bit wary of being embraced in the church setting. So, yeah, we're committed to it. We're committed to diversity, and in all of its various flavors. It's just difficult to navigate. But it does make for a really rich environment where we can all learn from one another. Yeah, I think that's about all I got on that. If anyone else would like to chime in.
I mean, I would just add that I think there's a difference between the desire to grow in diversity and the actual process of growing in diversity. The desire is clearly there. Growing, you know, this is a church, so it's not like we're out there hunting for people and trying to steal folks from other churches and their homes. And oftentimes they're at places that they feel comfortable. So I think the challenge for us is creating an environment that looks different than really what the world is ready for, and hoping that we find those people that are kind of on that that cutting edge, that leading edge of where we're going, so that we can set an example, I hope, for other churches and other communities. But it takes time, and people have to find us, and it's got to happen organically to be
Yeah.
real.
Anybody else?
I would just like to add something too. This is Richard here. I'm really proud of our church. 20 people in our congregation have been participating in the Sacred Ground course, which is about diversity and racial unity, and tackling some really difficult issues. I mean, this is not a place for the fearful. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to address some of these kinds of issues. So I've been really proud of all of you. So Sacred Ground obviously has been postponed because of the crisis, but that and other initiatives, and I'd like to also acknowledge our Mosaic team for continuing to carry that vision and that dream forward about reaching beyond the walls and reaching out to people who are different from us. And another dimension that we have a very rich tradition in our congregation is intercultural ministry. So ministries to other countries. Bob has led us in some very significant ways in that over the years. Brian Flores has also put together teams and groups that have gone to the Dominican Republic and Guatemala. I've had opportunity to serve in South America. And so we have, there's just a lot of rich, I think, fertile ground for us to continue to grow in this area. And in fact, we had invited a vineyard pastor from Brazil to come and be with us in July. Those plans have been postponed again for obvious reasons. But there's more coming, and so we'd like to introduce you to some different people who maybe look different and speak different languages as well in the future. So I think there's a lot of rich and fertile territory for us to continue to move into and to grow in. So I'm really proud of our history and heritage even so far. So we've done a lot, but there's more to do, and so I'm actually really excited to see how that's going to come together in the future.
If I could just add one more thing. One of the questions was, what are we doing for seniors? And Kathy Navarro-Sacco, who's sort of heading up our small group ministry, and I had met to talk about this, and she had put out a survey that was sort of step one to see who was involved in small groups and who would like to be. And one of the needs that we noticed was that we need something for seniors, and that was just beginning to be discussed when COVID hit.
Sure.
So it's on hold at the moment, but it's certainly not off the radar in any way. The future of our church is in the younger people, obviously. The present of our church includes a lot of lovely senior people, of which I am one. And we need to make sure that they're being cared for and loved as well.
All right. Anybody else on that?
Did Richard want to share about Alpha?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, speaking of outreach, how about that, Richard?
I would love to talk about Alpha. I'm super excited about this. Okay, so if some of you have already heard about Alpha, some of you haven't. Alpha is an amazing program. I guess you could call it a program. It's really about reaching out to your neighbors, your coworkers, your family members, people who are faith seekers, people who need to ask questions. And, sometimes it's really hard to share your faith and figure out ways. We're in a very new and difficult, secularizing environment. And so I'm really excited to say that we do have Alpha coming to the Ventura Vineyard in September. And so you'll hear more about that. But I'm super excited about that because this will also give us an opportunity to grow in diversity and reach out beyond the walls. So stay tuned because there's some good stuff. And that's my dog. She has been through the Alpha course and it really likes it. So anyway, stay tuned for that because we have more to share about.
Excellent. Thanks, Richard. So moving on to a question that's definitely come up, probably second to when are we coming back, is how are we doing as a community of faith, as a church that has bills to pay and rent and all of the things that go along with our our facility and having staff and all of that. How are we doing financially? Who'd like to grab that one?
I will take that, and hopefully Brian will, mop up the mess that I make.
Thanks, Dan.
So weekly, we go over our financials, and we're seeing that while there's no uptick in giving, there is no drastic decline, or there's no really noticeable decline. So I really do want to thank our community, and I really do appreciate you guys sticking through this with us, and understanding that we're here for you. And here's my I'm waiting for my life preserver Brian to jump in and save me right here.
We've had obviously a loss in people historically that put us in some financial difficulties. The base of congregants, the base of participants that we have at the Vineyard have been faithful to continuing to support financially. I think a lot of people have moved to the online giving, which has really helped. To Dan's point, there's not been a dramatic decrease in giving, which has allowed us to continue to make our payments as we can to our staff and to the land owners, and we should be in a good situation when we return to live services. That being said, we are not flush with cash, so don't take that message away. We are still very much, living paycheck to paycheck as a church, which I think, is kind of part of our ethos, right? We're a scrappy little bunch that just does what it takes to get by, and we make the best out of what we have. So, but there are, to that point, people's financial circumstances are, for me personally, a huge issue, but I think for our entire leadership team, your stress and your mental health is obviously, impacted by financial difficulties. And so, because of this trying time with COVID, we know there are people that have been laid off or furloughed, or whatever the case may be. People are hurting financially. So the church has developed a fund that Dan is going to talk about to assist people.
Yeah. Something that I saw when we're doing the financials weekly is that I was surprised about the fund growth, the COVID fund growth. I shouldn't have been surprised, because I know the community's generosity, not only with their time, but their finances. But we're in a unique position to actually help community members. And there's actually a family that we're going to be trying to help out with a little bit in that COVID fund this week. So hopefully well, not hopefully, I know that they're going to appreciate your contribution, the people that are watching this video and that contributed to it. They're going to really appreciate it. And I really can't wait for more families to feel that love that you guys have given to us to steward a little bit. It's a great responsibility. But I really cannot wait to help as little, not as little, but as much as possible. I really do thank you, and I appreciate all the contributions that you're doing within the COVID fund, as well as continuing your tithes. And if you are still mailing in checks, you might want to check the app and do some e-giving. It's a little bit easier and safer too, I guess.
Yeah,
for the staff, that's for sure.
Just a question, percentage-wise, but before we had to move to an online presence, what would you say was the percentage of online giving versus people that mailed their things in, or put it in the offering tray, which definitely, that's probably going to change when we come back. So what would you say was the percentage of people that have switched to online giving?
I'm going to give a wild guess, and Brian, do you actually know without me guessing? Okay, so I'm gonna guess.
Ballpark, yeah. I mean,
it was about 50-50, maybe 60% e-giving. Right now that has increased, so we're not seeing so many like checks come in. But I just think that it's we should, like, one of our goals should be to move like to 90% e-giving, if not 100%. It's not only easier for you within the community, but it's easier for us as well. Yeah.
So second question, we have this CoEd Fund, which is awesome, small community, and we have money to give within our community, or even for somebody that's in need that could be outside of our community. That's going to be a decision made by the elders. How does somebody make that need known? And is that just a need for themselves, or can they nominate somebody, a family or a friend or somebody that is in need? What's the process for that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We're actually working on, excuse me, we're working on some planning documents on how to make this a little bit easier. But right now, we want to hear from community members that are struggling, that need money, whether that's them directly or it's their friends or family. I personally know that when a family is financially struggling, they do not want to ask for help.
Sure.
And I'm like begging you to actually ask us for help. Communicate with somebody within the community. If you don't want to like email me or Ashley or Jenny or anybody here directly, just communicate with somebody and let us know. I mean, the community's generosity is the community's generosity is love, and they want to love you right now. So, or they want to love your neighbor or your family member, or somebody that needs help financially. Like, just don't be shy about it. If you're wondering whether you're going to get it or not, or something like that, if you're questioning that, just send the email anyways. Like, let us communicate with you. Let us try to help you as much as we can through this fund.
Right. Yeah, and to put a fine point on it, everybody has gifts and talents, right, that they bring to the church. And for some, that is maybe a financial security that others don't have. And so please, if you're somebody who's financially insecure, don't rob that gift from somebody who can give, because that's coming from their heart. So yeah, for sure. Reach out through the app, through the contact at venturavineyard.org, or any of the board, the elders, the staff, teaching team.
Yeah, and I do want to mention one thing. While we're talking specifically about finances right now, whether rent's due and you're really struggling for that, that's what we're talking about with the CoEd Fund. But we're also, we haven't talked about the care team. The care team does a tremendous job, and they need to know where the pain and struggles within our community are, directly or indirectly, so we can help. We have not only the assets financially through the fund, but we have the service of the volunteers on that care team. So please reach out. Even if you don't want something physical and you need prayer, like, reach out to the prayer team.
Absolutely.
Like, let us cover you, and let us be the best stewards of that we can. I think that's our calling. All of us can agree to that. So let us do that for you, please.
Excellent. Well, that is the main questions that we had for the town hall meeting. Does anybody have any closing comments they'd like to make, or anything that we missed that wasn't brought out in these questions?
Well, I'd kind of like to just say, I don't know if it's helpful for anyone, but just to know that we're meeting regularly. I don't know if that's comforting. It's important to me that everyone knows that things haven't just sort of died. Like the staff is meeting weekly, still virtually, and the leadership team as a whole meets monthly. And we're talking about you guys, we're talking about how we're doing, we're talking about what we can do better. So we're always trying to improve for the sake of this community. And that's why the town hall meeting is so important, because we want to know what your guys' experience is and what you have questions about, or what you're seeing that you're wondering, how are we doing. We're trying to talk about that stuff as a team all the time, not only monthly, but we have a Slack channel that we chat very often in, just about all kinds of details. So it's important to me that you guys know that we're still going. We're still like working for you to make the community healthy and good. And besides town hall meeting times, you can always reach out. You can reach out through the app. There's several different tiles with different ways to reach out. And you can also email if you have any questions or any concerns or any ideas or anything. We're all doing this together. Ventura Vineyard is all of our church. It's all of our community. So if you have any thoughts on anything, you can absolutely always email, always ask. Let's have the conversations, because it's all of ours. So.
Yeah, and thank you, Ashley. I would just like to add too that we're actually, sure, we're in a crisis, but there's opportunities in crisis, and we're actually expanding things. We're planning ahead. We're looking ahead, thinking ahead. This is an unprecedented situation that we're in, but our leadership team is expanding. We're going to be bringing Alpha on board in the future. We're continuing, our small groups are continuing. So I'm just really actually excited. I mean, I have obviously, reservations and, fears about the future, like we all do. But in terms of, our community, I think that there's just a lot of great and interesting, positive things that are going to be coming up for us in the future. So, be a part of it. And, we can still be reaching out and reaching our neighbors and inviting people. And, we can invite people to our online services. We might know people that would never consider, coming to a church service, physically, to come to a building or go out. But hey, maybe in the privacy and comfort of their own home, they'd be willing to give it a try. So I think that there's a lot of life and health and strength, even through these very difficult times. And so I just want to, say I'm really actually excited about what's ahead. And I don't know all of what's ahead, but God's got us in His hands. And so we're looking forward to seeing what's coming up.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else?
I just want to say one thing. I just want to thank our staff, Ashley, Chris. I want to thank so many people who basically overnight made us transition from an in-person church to an online one. And I mean, Adam and Dan and Brian.
Trevor and Kelsey are doing a tremendous job too at youth.
Yeah, there's been so much going on behind the scenes, basically overnight, that has brought us the ability to be able to continue our services and continue to connect. And we are so gifted with people who have amazing abilities and hearts and willingness to do things just on the spur of the moment. So I just really wanted to thank all of you guys. You're amazing, and it's a privilege to serve with you.
I second that, Ginny. I think necessity is the mother of invention, right? And when you're chocked full of people with lots of talent, you get some pretty amazing things in a situation filled with necessity. So thank you, guys.
Good word.
And thank you to all the members of the Vineyard. The Sunday morning virtual service is the highlight of my week. Getting to see you all and participate in a shared service, even though we're apart, it really is. It's special. It makes me appreciate and love you all so much more than I already did.
Hey, let's give it up for all of our elders that are also our teachers that have just overcome the obstacles of technology to upload those videos and get them sent off. It's just literally taken a movement of God for that to happen.
An act of God, some would say.
A miracle.
Yeah. If we didn't believe in God before, we do now for sure.
It'd take a miracle. It's the truth. Anybody else? All right. We hope that this has been illuminating. We hope that this is kind of the reverse of the Wizard of Oz, where they say, pay no attention to that person behind the curtain, that we pulled that curtain back a little bit. And as everybody has said over and over during this meeting, there are a lot of people behind that curtain doing a lot of stuff, a lot of gears, turning a lot of levers. But that probably didn't answer maybe all of your questions. So if you are out there still wondering, what about this or what about that? Or maybe some of the answers that were given to you here this morning sparked, more questions. Please don't hesitate to get on the app, go to the different tiles. Connect is a good place to start, and just ask the question or contact at venturavineyard.org. You can reach us there. Also, just to reaffirm, if you are suffering any kind of financial stress or know somebody within our community or out that is in need, we'd love to know about that. So please let us know about that. Reach out to us through the care button or through the connect or our email address. So thank you very much. This is Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday. We hope to see each and every one of you there for our 10 o'clock service on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, on behalf of the staff, the elders, and the teaching team, God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.